either he thinks he understands my base assumptions, but just never addresses them.
Is he talking about me? Or, okay, here are the base assumptions. You have two contradicting base assumptions. Okay, I'm trying to be as charitable as I can.
So he's saying no matter what they do, we should just assume that they have a reason for doing it.
No! I didn't say we should assume! Okay, supposedly Tom responded to us.
At some point, we do need to get to Destiny.
The idea that the U.S. just does no manufacturing at all is just not true.
Okay, pause it.
This is just
so just in case he's misunderstanding my point, I will say this. It is, I don't think he will think that it's controversial, so I'm surprised why he's pushing on this. If he's listening to me beyond more than clips, he will understand that my point is you have a military adversary that controls a lot of your manufacturing.
Stop! Why do they always dance between both of these arguments? If you want to make the argument that we have to do something about our manufacturing for security reasons, that's fine, but that is separate from the national security argument. These are two distinctly different ideas that call for distinctly different policy approaches. These are two different things. Why do we keep jumping between both worlds?
A lot. I don't even need people to look any farther than drones. Like the amount of the supply chain of drones that they control is crazy town. As Ian Bremmer was saying, having chips that basically control our entire modern way of life 100 miles off the coast of China, a place that they have said many times that they want to reunify with, bad mojo. During COVID, we saw the things that we weren't able to get because they control it. So I'm perfectly willing to say, hey, we're doing really well on unemployment. AI is probably going to mean that the vast majority of jobs that we bring back here are going to go to robots anyway. So that isn't going to be the big point. Cool. Doesn't change my stance on the need to bring back some manufacturing to the U.S. I don't understand. So he would have to have the operating assumption that the thought of a war with China is so stupid.
Again, like so if you want to bring it back for military or national security reasons, fine, but this is I've just said it, it's a completely separate argument than the econ argument. Just don't roll these arguments together and you're fine. But if you want to have the national security argument, it has nothing to do with economics then.
Stupid. As to, like, don't even think about that. Globalism, yay. Never going to go to war with China. Then his thinking would make sense, but then we do not share that base assumption. Not that I think we're going to, but I think we have to be prepared for.
Not a true thing. People keep saying this, but it's just not true.
There is a segment of the American population that without manufacturing jobs, there's been nothing for them. And so the whole learn to code meme it didn't work. Yeah. And so
that's fine. Learn to code didn't work, but learn to raise chickens in your own backyard because of the price of eggs, which is an unironic thing, by the way, that who said this? Was it our Secretary of Agriculture? She actually
I don't remember which lady said it, but
that's okay. Like, learn to code was stupid and out of touch, but learn to manufacture textiles, that's okay? What?
If this actually goes full trade war, the debtor, the America, the people.
Yeah, I'm not sure why everybody jumps to the textile thing. I think because it is maximum.
Because he said we're not going to import anything. Because the entire everything is being tariffed. I don't know who. It's okay. If you want to present your own economic policy, that's fine. But I don't know. I'm not sure what he's responding to in this video, because he's not talking about anything that's happening in the United States right now. So I don't know why he's responding to my policy, or he's responding with his own economic kind of like dream. And then he's pretending that I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about what the Trump administration is doing. The Trump admin is tariffing everything coming from China. If we're not making textiles, then we're going to be importing them at 130% tariff rate or whatever other tariff rate at whatever country. So that is what's on the table.
Everybody jumps to the textile thing. I think because it is maximum comedic impact and...
No, they jump to the textiles thing because everything is going to be tariffed. In fact, the only stuff I've seen them exempt from tariffing are like fucking cell phones and microprocessors.
Show those memes. Maybe textiles, but that certainly doesn't rank high on my immediate list of things to be thoughtful about. Immediate things to be thoughtful about: energy, technology, anything tied to warfare. Like those are going to be things you want to onshore, friendshore for sure.
Anything tied to warfare? You realize that that encompasses basically every single possible thing that could ever vehicles. We have energy. Every single thing that a normal human being uses is in some way incorporated into warfare. I don't know.
So, I mean, period.
People who's buying most of this stuff ends up coming out on top versus China and other countries who sell other things to us. So it seems red now, but ultimately will net for our benefits if this gets to fully play out.
Yes. Now, I would ask people to put the emotional valence. It's a bit like Russia saying to Germany, we have more soldiers to kill in Stalingrad than you do. Because what's hiding in his words is, this will be bad. Yeah. We'll just survive it better than you. So it'll be a little bit worse for you than it will be for us. So I do not want people to hear in my recitation of him or what he's saying that this isn't going to be very choppy, as they say. Choppy means people losing money. Choppy means people freaking out. Yeah. But Trump, if you can believe the words he says, if you can believe best.
And again, if you want to take this argument, then fine. But just, you need to be honest about what you're saying. Okay? Like, and I don't want to say that he's not being honest, okay? But when you say we need to bring manufacturing back, that's fine, but that needs to come now with a few understandings. One, if you want to build a factory in the US to manufacture anything, you can already do that, okay? So why are we not doing it? We're not doing it because it's way more expensive to do. Not a little bit more expensive, but way more expensive. Hella expensive.
All right,
fine. Maybe it's way more expensive.
Okay, so this is where one has to start with the goal in mind. So if he and I are arguing at the like tactical level, but we haven't agreed on what we're trying to achieve, it's entirely possible that my tactics would never lead him to the goal that he wants. And obviously possible that the tactics he wants will never lead to the goal that I want. So we both need to put our, what is the goal that we are trying to achieve out on the table? And then we can say, oh, damn, we actually don't even agree on the goal. We may, I don't know. But for making it nice and easy to respond to what I'm saying, my goal is that it's twofold. One, we want to bring manufacturing back for the people that do not have they don't interface with the world in a white collar way. That one feels like a low impact.
They don't interface with, wait, so he is talking about baseline manufacturing then? Or like textile-y stuff? I feel like we're getting back to the economic arguments now. Wait, so is it an economic thing or is it a national security thing? Because these two policies are going to play out completely differently from one another.
Argument, but it's nonetheless real for me, as I want to find a way for those people to thrive, and I don't have a better answer yet. But I think AI really is going to obliterate a lot of that. And so I do have sort of a blind act of faith that if we're manufacturing here, that there will be opportunities that I can't see yet that will be created. But that one admittedly is an act of faith. So if he or anybody else wants to say that's a weak argument, I'd say, yeah, that is a weak argument. The other one, though, which is, I think, extremely important, is we have to be able to defend ourselves. And so I don't think that that modern warfare will play out entirely at the level of cyber. So I think that there will still be elements of kinetic, even if they play out purely from a robotics standpoint. From everybody that I've heard talk on this subject, robotics, drones, those pipelines go through China. And so it is going to be more expensive to onshore that. But again, my operating base assumption is you have to find a way back to that. You have to be able to control the manufacturing of your modern way of life and of modern defense. You just have to. And so if he and I are going to argue, it might need to be about that. Do we actually need that? Is that real? Because if that base assumption is somehow wrong and he sees something that I'm missing, that's like, no. They don't control robotics or drones. You've been misinformed. Oh, okay, cool. Then where is that already with a friendly? I think we're going to find that I'm right about that, but I would be very open. That to me is just a fact-based thing. Yeah. If it is true that we do not control our own weapons, technology, pipelines, then you have to shore that up. If it's like, Tom, you're really missing a point. We're never going to go to war with China for these reasons. Then I go, ooh, I think he's right. We're never going to go to war with China. Cool. And then I would be like, yep, this has higher predictive validity over here. Again, I'd be so surprised If there's something that I
Okay, fuck. Okay, I'm trying to be as charitable as I can. It is very, 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 very hard for me to believe that war with China is factoring into his calculations in any way, size, shape, or form. Because if they were, then there is no world where he would be okay. What the current administration is doing, insofar as our relationship with the rest of the world, makes his trade policy irrelevant. It doesn't. No matter what he's doing to try to shore up manufacturing or any of that stuff, all of that becomes instantly irrelevant when you look at the damage that that President Trump has done with our relationships with the rest of the world. So if a war with China is something you care about, that ground is immediately and entirely ceded due to the fact that Donald Trump cannot manage our relationships with anybody. So I just don't understand. I don't understand.
I'm missing on that, but I'm very open. But we keep not arguing at that level. And so this ends up being the Sam Harris Murray debate. Now, I don't know if my breakdown of their disagreement is entertaining. I thought a lot about that this weekend. I had ideas about how I could have made it more entertaining, and I resisted the impulse. And I was like, okay, listen, you said the parts that you really believed in the moment, having heard them collide. And some of this may be either he thinks he understands my base assumptions, but just never addresses them.
Is he talking about me? Or, okay, here are the base assumptions. You have two contradicting based assumptions. Or they're not contradicting, at least. They're just two totally different things. Okay, this is said as simply as possible. One, if your goal is to shore up national security, and you think that the best way to do that is to import supply lines or whatever that are vital to your interest, okay, then let's say that that is the case. Okay, the way that that would start is, step one would be identifying your friendly countries and identifying your enemy countries, okay? Let's assume, we'll say BRICS is the enemy, all right? Okay, we'll say that European countries and NATO are the allies, okay? Well, if that's the case, all right, how much manufacturing can we do in America? Because the reality is, of all the manufacturing you want, we probably can't do all of that. All right, that's just not possible. We just can't do it. Or we could, but it would be at great personal cost to the well-being of our citizens, okay? So let's look at all the friendly countries and let's see how much can we get from them. So maybe we just tariff countries, or maybe we don't import things that are vital to national security interests from countries that are enemies. Okay, so if they can make it in a NATO country, well, let's do that. If they can make it in a European country, let's do that. In fact, Donald Trump is so fucking anal about the, pay your NATO bill shit so much. Maybe part of that paying the bill can be you have to export or you have to manufacture certain things for United States consumption that has to do with our military supply lines. Okay, that's number one. Okay, it's still going to cost more and it's going to hurt a bit economically, but at the very least, we have the framework or the skeleton of some coherent national security supply chain plan at that point, because the answer has to be more than we'll make it all ourselves. Sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of his voice. It's this idea that we can manufacture everything is just not true. Tom knows this from business. You know this from business. You would never start a business where you're in-housing every single aspect of every single thing you do, okay? So I know that Tom does comic stuff. Now I could be wrong, but I've never heard him talk about manufacturing parchment. Okay, I've never heard him talk about bleeding fucking jellyfish dry for the inks that they use in their laser jet printers. Or right? You have a ton of different things that you bring in from outside sources to do whatever work you're specialized in. That's ordinary for an individual. It's ordinary for a company. It's ordinary for an industry, and it's ordinary for a country. Okay, it's ordinary for that's from the top down. That structure is not changing. So we have to eject that idea of we're going to make every single possible thing from start to finish here. That's just dumb. If you really want to do this, incorporate other countries, okay? That's the national security argument. On the economics argument, you can't go backwards economically. That idea just needs to be ejected. It's never been done in the history of all of mankind. If you want to do it, there's only one way to do it, and that way to do it is to no-fly zone over Ukraine and then start bombing Moscow with U.S. planes and then have nuclear winter when everybody starts nuking each other, and then after that, we can go back to baseline manufacturing. We can go back to having everybody farm and everybody putting doors on cars, because that'll be the only technology left on the planet. All right? You cannot take steps back in your economy. Find other ways to train people. Find other types of jobs for them to move into for complementary position, or just fucking do a UBI or something. All of these things are infinitely better ideas than the fantasy of reshoring all of our old manufacturing jobs, okay? You can't go back to the old ways of manufacturing any more than you can go back in time.
Doesn't think of the world from the position of understand their base assumptions, understand the goal that they're trying to achieve, and then ask, do we share an end state? If we share an end state, do we agree on tactics? If we share an end state but disagree on tactics, what are the base assumptions that drive the belief that these would be the right tactics? I don't think there's any way he's mapping me as somebody who's just stuck on a team. That would be very surprising. So anyway, he's so smart. I would love his angle on like, okay, this is your base assumption. Here's why it's wrong. Like I'm fully here
I think I
to
just
have
did
my
that,
thinking sharpened.
but
But anyway,
I
every
don't know.
time we
We'll see.
interact, it's not at that level. We're admittedly not interacting directly. And I won't lie, I do love the like nature of React videos. So I unfortunately enjoy that part of it. Anyway, that's my take so far. Can I borrow the power cable? I'm about to die.
I do think that there's something interesting that we point out, because you do talk about we need to get robotics here, we need to get drone manufacturing here. Drones, I know there's nothing we can do, but like Anduril and some of these new age military companies, they are based in the U.S.
And they're
Tesla
also the
is
ones
building-
screaming, hey, by the way, you can't let China control these fucking pipelines. So
Show me that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I want to see one of these companies saying, hey, if the United States is going to remain safe and secure, we need to dig the widget ore out of the ground and make our own widgets. That's what I want to see one of those companies saying. I'd be shocked.
when you've got the big companies that are doing this stuff saying must onshore, it's like they're the ones that are going to take a huge financial hit. I mean,
Well, it depends on what they're saying. If they're saying must onshore our level of manufacturing, well, that's obvious that they would say that because they stand to gain from it massively economically. That's the whole point of a protectionist policy. Of course, you're going to have some domestic companies that prefer that. But if they're saying that you're telling me that they're okay with not even being allowed to import any of the things that they buy, I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a microsecond. I don't believe it.
There is some presence of American warehousing and manufacturing happening now. So do you think this trade war
so wait, are you saying, Tom, we don't need to do all this crazy shit? It was already happening.
That's where I'm going. That was what the question was.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay. Perfect question. Amazing. You're putting your finger on the right thing. Okay. So here are the beliefs that drive me. As of right now, we have some companies, that are moving in the right direction, and that is amazing. Now the question is, how many hurdles are in their way? What's the ratio of we do to they do? Right now, it is my understanding that it is so wildly disproportionate, and you need look no further than the stat of China has built more ships. It's like either the last month or the last year. It's not less than that. They have built more ships in the last year than we've built since the end of World War II.
Aren't we like an air company though? Are we building?
Bro, what I'm saying is it is always whoever controls the seas controls the world. So you ignore a navy at your peril. What has happened is we've just stopped manufacturing. So we've got to be able to respond. So right now we're in a position where we can't backfill our own weapons. So when Israel wants more weapons, when Ukraine wants more weapons, we're not able to backfill them. So it's my understanding that Russia right now is making them faster than we can because they're actively in war. You would expect them to ramp up.
Wasn't Russia begging North Korea for more artillery shells or whatever?
Their pipelines. So I'm just saying the last thing you want to do is be caught flat-footed. You do not want China, who is watching your every single move. You don't want them to go, yeah, we've now produced enough. We are so far ahead of them. It will take them 5 years to catch up. And in that time, we will have reintegrated China. In that time, we will have what? I mean, I don't consider them to be territorially imperialistic. I could be wrong about that. I've not looked deeply into it, but I'm perfectly willing to believe that they're not, that that's not what's driving them. But nonetheless, they want to be number one. So anyway, those are the things that drive my thinking. Now, if we were to look at that and it was like, oh, bro, no, we're already good. Like we're almost one-to-one parity with them in terms of the ability to build. Companies started making this shift 2 decades ago. We're good. Then I would update my thinking and be like, oh, we don't need to do this. This is just creating economic chaos. This is mad. But I have not yet identified a single one of my assumptions from a credible source that says that I'm wrong about it. So it's not me making it up. This is me piecing things together, like things that I've heard from Palmer Luckey and Elon Musk, people that deal in robotics, people that deal in drones. And obviously they're not the only two. So But if there's somebody out there with better information, I'm here for it.
Copy. You want to keep going?
Yeah.
So what? Okay, well, if we're going to say that it's way more expensive to do that, then we need to be honest when we say that that means that if we're going to tariff and we're going to rebuild whatever the fuck we're rebuilding, we're going to do it with an economy where everything costs more. Everything's going to be more expensive.
If it's not making
You're not going
sense.
to be able to afford the same consumer goods. And you also need to be honest about unemployment. Unemployment was very low.
Yep.
The United States labor force was one of the most productive in the world. It will no longer be one of the most productive in the world because productivity is measured by the amount of output from an employee per hour worked. And when you're doing things like extracting coal from the ground or hammering fucking door windows into fucking cars, okay, these are inherently, they're just less productive jobs.
So
unless
I'm
you want to do
beginning
this
to
weird thing
posit,
where, remember that
I'm beginning to understand the base assumptions that make up his mindset. Now, I very much could be wrong. I want to be very clear about that. But it sounds like to me, he's looking at this and going, globalism was an unmitigated good. This was amazing. Or maybe not.
Come what unmitigated good? No, come on. Why does it have to be so black and white? It's like people can't understand. Like, hey, maybe there's a thing that had some issues. Sure, let's deal with those issues but like, no, we can't do that. Actually, it's impossible to deal with the issues. What we have to do instead is completely destroy the entire world order, destroy and reshape the entire world order because there might have been some bads. Come on, there must be a better way to think about this. There must be a better way to think about this.
Not unmitigated. There were downsides, but they're not downsides that create a price. They're not downsides that Trump's actions pay for at a reasonable price. I think would probably be the right way to say it. So I think where he and I disagree is just how seriously do we have to take being able to manufacture a select set of items. Yeah. So far, that has high predictability in this conversation.
Okay. And just to be
trying to
clear,
have it-
so far, what Trump is doing is not going to help us produce the things that Tom wants us to produce more of. Even if those were your end goals, Trump's current trajectory is not getting us closer to those goals, but both ways too. Now, some of them have said, okay, we're not bringing back those manufacturing jobs, Destiny. Obviously, that would be retarded. We're talking about automated jobs. Oh, then we're back at learn to code. So you're going to bring back manufacturing to the United States, but you're not bringing back all the jobs you said you were going to. That was a lie. You're just bringing back software development jobs, manufacturing jobs. Okay, so then you're making things more expensive. You're not bringing back the same jobs from before, and you're hurting our exports market as well because now every other country has tariffs on us. So you're only exporting to Americans that are now going to be made poorer, that are going to have less demand for. This is just none of this works internally. It's not even
So
there.
pause it. So he's got a chain of logic, which is that you're going to make everything more expensive and we're not going to get a benefit out of this that is worth the price that we're going to have to pay. He at least has very clear internal logic. Again, the thing I keep coming back to is you cannot be in a position where you can't manufacture. So I'm willing to pay a price for that. Now, it's not an infinite price that I'd be willing to pay. And it is entirely possible that the way that Trump is going about this is completely foolish and that he should have been taking a far more measured approach, gone out, got some allies on our side, got people with us, and then, and only then, gone after doing something with China. And so I think there's a very good argument to be made. Ian Bremmer does a good job of summing this up, which is, man, you don't go after your allies and your enemies at the same time. This is crazy.
Hey,
and
true.
that may very well play out to be true. So the only counter argument to that I've seen that's compelling is, do you really think we would have gotten here, because I think David Sachs believes.
Don't say gotten here like we've gotten anywhere. And he's about to quote David Sachs. To be clear, our position has not improved on any front anywhere. It has not improved anywhere. We don't have any better trade deals. We don't have any better geostrategic anything going on anywhere. Well, hold on. I'm so sorry. It's improved. You know what? Pretend that we're about to not pause for 5 minutes. Where's the fucking... I need the meme. Hold on. We have only improved in one area, okay?
I'm ruined. I have nothing left. except Israel.
Israel just asked for another $10 billion, sir.
Tell him it's on the way.
This is the only thing we've improved on. So if your unitary measure of success is how close are we to Israel, my God, we've just promised to fucking bomb Iran, okay? That's the only thing that's improved, all right?
That we're making very good progress. Do you think we would have gotten here by saying pretty please? He was like, you get the kind of concessions that we're about to get.
That we're about to get. Which concessions? What are the concessions? Which ones? What?
That we're going to need to get, and that we are already getting, to shift the trading, the global trading environment that will be necessary to disrupt for, I think they'd probably say for 2 reasons. 3. One, it's just not fair. They've got a whole fucking thing.
Can you please chill a bit with the Zog bullshit? At least qualify. I am so sorry, Itamar Levi. I'm sorry, that's not even funny. I just read his message's name. I'm sorry. My bad.
Trump administration has a thing for fairness. And it is hollowed out the middle class. And then you've got to be prepared from a military perspective. That's what I think the Trump administration thinks that they're bringing back. Now, again, I've been very clear on what my stance is. I don't think I need to repeat it again, but it is now becoming clear what his shtick is, which is keep the economy humming. You're asking us all to pay a price that's way too high. The way that Trump is going about this is...
And wait, Tom, the most important thing, in case I respond to another video, okay? Your end goals are not served by the current administration's trajectory. That's the most important thing. Because I do appreciate the way he reasons through things. And that is the most important thing. Your end goals are not served by the current administration's plans.
Nonsensical. I think he's conflating me with trying to have it both ways.
Well, because you explicitly mentioned the economic argument and the national security argument at the same time. It can't be. These things are just contradictory to one another. They just can't be at the same time. They just can't be at the same time. I have a guy who really needs to get more sleep and a guy who really wants to work and only sleep for 6 hours a day. Let's go ahead and get both of these done at the same time. That just can't happen.
But I get, if you're thinking I'm saying, hey, you've got to, you're going to employ people, working class people are going to be employed in these factories. And you think that's the big, come on,
they're not going to be, though.
That's what we got to do, which I was way more hardcore on that in the beginning when I was first going down this road. So I certainly don't blame him for thinking that. I could see that, but there is a price to be paid. Anyway, there's more, I think, points of departure in terms of he thinks all prices will go up. I don't think all prices will go up. I think he's conflating the idea of inflation with rising prices, which sounds so dumb when you say it.
Oh, because he doesn't believe that inflation is rising prices. I know, because the tech world bought into the abolish the Fed shit. And he's about to say it. Rising prices has nothing to do with inflation. Inflation is only how much money the Federal Reserve prints. That's what he's about to say.
Until you understand, Letnick explained this well, that if there are things made in America, there's no reason that those prices should go up. If things are being made somewhere else, then yes, if you tariff them, then those prices will go up. And if there's only one option you have, and it is the thing that is made elsewhere, then in that category, all prices will have gone up. But I think Trump is already signaling he's going to be...
Oh, I don't even know what categories of... Wait, that argument was even less coherent than I have heard in the past. What categories of things does he think we're not going to be... that aren't going to be affected? Everything. We're tariffing the whole market. Everybody is being tariffed. Every single industry, every single thing, all of them are being tariffed. I don't understand why we're not understanding this. All of it is being tariffed. Everything.
He's sledgehammery, but then he backtracks and goes, okay, cool, I don't want to create too much chaos, and so we're going to make exemptions temporary or otherwise for these things, because he's aware.
Temporary exemptions on
exactly.
Chinese,
now he's saying that they're
that.
temporary, but anyway. So
yeah.
all right, keep chugging, or we're never going to get through this.
Apparently, it's not even there. Also, remember, one of the things I criticized before was people saying, like, oh, well, look, oil prices are dropping. Oh, well, that's okay, right? Oil prices are coming down. Oh, that's good. Then oil prices are dropping, right? The reason why oil prices are dropping right now is because of because people think there's going to be a reduction in the demand for oil in the future. Okay, that's why oil prices are coming down, because when economies slow down, there's less of a demand for energy, and if there's less of a demand for energy, it means that people are going to produce less energy. Okay, now you might think you're clever, and you go, okay, well, fine, Destiny. Maybe that's true, but isn't that still good? Doesn't that still mean at the very least we're going to get cheaper oil? No, because they won't continue to produce at that level. So while energy prices might come down temporarily, the only reason why fracking and everything else took off in the United States is because it was profitable to frack, is because oil price got high enough for it. People are not going to continue to drive down the cost of the goods that they sell just so that you can have a cheaper buy. At some point, U.S. energy is just going to slow down. They're just going to stop producing as much energy until the price reaches some kind of equilibrium where it's profitable to do so. Remember, a proven reserve is just how much it would net you in profit to go after some particular type of energy. If the cost of energy falls too much, then your proven reserves also decrease. Like,
Hey, you guys have been ripping us off, and the way that I know you've been
oh, I thought he was going to call me out for stealing his content. Never mind.
ripping us off is this math equation that says you guys are doing unfair things, because remember, there could be so much sleight of hand in the non-tariff trade, oh God, what do they call it? Barriers. The non-tariff trade barriers. So you guys, we looking at China say, hey, you might say you only have whatever, 7% tariffs. But the reality is you have all these non-tariff trade barriers. And so he gave an example. If we tried to ship McDonald's French fries and they said, oh, well, because you can't tell us where the potatoes come from, unfortunately, we're going to have to reject this.
So U.S. right now.
I like how people, I wish when people would say things like that. Remember, this is actually an error in thought. Don't be mean. If there exists a thing that seems really wacky or weird like that, you should know why it's there. Like, that should bother you. You're like, well, why does that thing exist? That seems really stupid. It seems like a really dumb rule, right? You should investigate and be able to answer that question. There's probably a reason, right? Probably.
Now, in 2025 has to change the trajectory that it's on.
Every empire
Yeah, it's a Chesterton's fence thing, kind of, sure.
that has ever existed has collapsed because of
And
Hold on.
also,
Sorry, I just can't let that one
football
slide.
stats.
So he's saying no matter what they do, we should just assume that they have a reason for doing it.
No, I didn't say we should assume. Or like, you should assume, but you should investigate. You should find out why. No, I said go figure out. There's probably a reason. Find out what the reason is. What did I say exactly? Hold on. Seems really wacky or weird like that. You should know why it's there. Like, that should bother you. You're like, you should know why. Like, go. When I'm saying know why, am I saying know that there's a good reason? No, as in go find out. Well, why? Why does that thing exist? That seems really stupid. It seems like a really dumb rule, right? You should investigate and be able to answer that question. And there's answer probably a reason. Yes. Right?
Now, in 2025 has to change the trajectory that it's on.
every empire.
And also,
Sorry, I just can't let that one
football
slide.
stats.
So he's saying no matter what they do, we should just assume that they have a reason for doing it. That's pretty soft logic. But anyway, keep going.
That can't. No. I know exactly what he's about to say. This weird thing where it's like, people do this with elections. They do it with the NFL. They do it in everything. Where it's like, no person who has ever won New Hampshire and Iowa, and whose birthday was in the first 6 months of the year, has ever lost the primary in even years. In
I'm so curious to see if I am about to
There's
do
always like a
this.
thing, and he's about to bring up no country whose no countries whose spending on the interest to their debt is greater than the cost of their defense
say that.
department.
He doesn't end up saying this, thankfully. I've heard this argument brought up, though. I don't know who I heard this. It was a talking point for all like 7 seconds, where it was who was bringing this up? Was it Charlie Kirk? When the spending payments on your interest exceed the amount you spend on your military, it means your country is going to collapse. Like, where are we getting these? But I don't think he's not one of the people that does it, at least.
It is like, first of all, how many empires are we even talking about here? Like 4? And then also, what the fuck are these numbers? How do they relate to each other? What?
Debt racing towards a fiscal cliff that is Armageddon.
The trajectory that it's on.
Every empire that has ever existed has collapsed because of
Debt.
Debt racing towards a fiscal cliff that is Armageddon.
Oh, he's just saying debt. Well, that's an even dumber analysis.
Is it?
That doesn't make what like. Listen. Like, what happened? What
Come on,
happened?
Destiny. What you got?
I had a ton of debt, so my life's over. Oh, so is that what happened? You got a ton of debt? Yeah. Why did you have a ton of debt? Well, I borrowed a fuck ton of money. I tried to gamble it all away, and then I had to borrow a whole bunch of money from some loan sharks, and then they cut my arms off, and then I had to borrow money from the
Nope.
bank for my house,
That's
and I lost
not how it
$26.
plays out.
Oh, so wait. So how would you describe your failures again? Because of debt.
This
Well,
is amazing.
okay,
Okay,
well,
so
That
this
seems
is
kind of,
fun. Destiny. The reason that empires fall because of debt is because they start money printing, and then they ultimately devalue their own currency, and it creates all kinds of problems. I'm so shorthanding all of this.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I don't have a fiscal review of every empire on the planet. I don't know the fiscal monetary policy of Rome. I would just be highly suspicious if that was true, given that every single country on the planet right now is engaged in some form of monetary policy, central banking, fiat currency system. Now, maybe it is the case that the libertarian, Silicon Valley types have actually solved this problem or figured out the key to all of empires failing. But yeah, I actually don't even know. I don't want to comment on Rome. Did Rome have a fiat currency, or was it precious metal? I don't know. But I doubt that. I just a lot of heuristics are saying this is probably not true, but I have no idea.
But to put it in a nutshell, that's when people go to war or a revolution. So,
but then also, again, was it because of did these empires flub because of the fact that they printed money, or was it because of the situations that led them into the whatever economic situation in the first place, imagine you've got a person who's starving to death outside of a restaurant, and they're like, I'm not going to spend any money on my credit card because everybody I know that's had massive credit card debt has ended up dying, and then they just die of starvation. I'm like, fuck. Why did the US revolt against the British? Just taxes? Yeah, I guess it feels like a reductive take like that. Why did the Civil War happen? States' rights. Why did the US revolt against the British? Because of taxes. Well, no, not really, but what are you going to do?